Ethics of autonomous weapons: balancing efficiency and humanity in warfare. In the realm of ethics, we often find ourselves grappling with complex moral dilemmas. Today, we'll explore a scenario that has stirred debates and discussions: the use of autonomous drones in a targeted strike on a high-value terrorist. For context, one example of autonomous weapons systems, or as you can call it, AWS, in action by the USA is the use of armed drones, such as the MQ-9 Reaper. These drones are equipped with advanced AI and remote piloting capabilities, allowing them to perform various military operations autonomously. In combat situations, Reapers can identify and engage targets, including enemy combatants and vehicles, without direct human intervention. They are used for surveillance, reconnaissance, and targeted strikes, often in regions with ongoing conflicts or counterterrorism efforts. While human operators make crucial decisions, these drones have a level of autonomy that raises ethical questions and concerns about accountability, especially when it comes to collateral damage and civilian casualties. In this scenario, a high-ranking terrorist leader responsible for planning and orchestrating multiple attacks against civilian populations is located in a remote area of a conflict zone. Intelligence reports suggest that capturing the terrorist alive is extremely dangerous due to the presence of heavily armed militants protecting him. Our ethical actor in this scenario is the military operator remotely piloting an autonomous drone. The action being tested is the decision to use the drone for a targeted strike on a high-value terrorist. To guide us through this ethical dilemma, we'll be using the utilitarian ethical standard. Specifically, we'll apply the principle of the greatest happiness for the greatest number. Utilitarianism dictates that actions are ethical if they result in the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. It's a consequentialist approach where we assess the morality of an action based on its outcomes, happiness and unhappiness. Our ethical issue revolves around whether it's ethical to use autonomous drones for a targeted strike on the high-value terrorist. Let's examine this scenario more closely. Our goal is to neutralize this high-value terrorist, and quickly. By using this autonomous drone, we can minimize the risk to our troops, ensuring their safety, which does align with the principle of maximizing overall happiness. Prolonging the conflict may lead to countless casualties, including civilians, and could escalate tensions, resulting in even more suffering and harm. Using the drone also demonstrates impartiality. We're safeguarding the interests of all individuals in the affected region, not showing favoritism to any specific group. If we were to opt for a ground operation, our troops would face significant risks that could lead to a considerable loss of life and suffering. Utilitarianism, as an ethical theory, has a rich history, dating back to the philosophies of Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. It advocates for assessing the moral rightness of actions based on their consequences. The greatness happiness for the greatest number principle is rooted in the idea of promoting overall well-being. But let's delve deeper. Utilitarianism, in practice, can be more complex than it appears. It often involves quantifying utility, which is challenging. Calculating happiness or suffering isn't as straightforward as it might seem. We must consider the long-term consequences of our actions. The use of autonomous drones has far-reaching implications, not just in terms of immediate happiness, but in the stability and well-being of the entire region. The utilitarian approach has been applied throughout history in US military decisions. The dropping of atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II is a prime example. From a utilitarian standpoint, using autonomous drones makes sense. It minimizes risks and aims to achieve the greatest happiness by preventing further loss of life. But we can't ignore the potential harm caused by autonomous drones. What if the intelligence is flawed and the innocent civilians are harmed? The long-term consequences could be devastating. Let's explore counterarguments. Does the use of autonomous drones truly promote the greatest happiness for the greatest number? There is a risk of dehumanizing warfare and increasing the potential for misuse. We're taking human judgment out of the equation. But by using autonomous drones, we may save the lives of our troops and countless civilians in the long run. We examine case studies and real-world examples, weighing the pros and cons of autonomous drone usage from a utilitarian perspective. Utilitarianism is a powerful tool, but it doesn't always provide a clear-cut answer. In this scenario, the decision must be made while considering numerous variables and potential outcomes. Taking all these considerations into account, the ethical choice here, guided by the utilitarian principle of the greatest happiness for the greatest number, is to use the autonomous drone to neutralize the high-value terrorists swiftly and efficiently. In complex scenarios like this, ethical decisions are never easy, but by applying ethical standards and considering the well-being of all individuals involved, we aim to achieve the greatest good and the highest happiness for the greatest number.